Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. If you've ever been totally intimidated by making pizza from scratch, you are in exactly the right place. Today we're going to demystify the multi-step process of making absolutely incredible Detroit-style pizza right in your home kitchen. We're taking world-class culinary techniques and breaking them down into a super accessible, step-by-step tutorial designed specifically for beginner home chefs. We've got a great roadmap for this masterclass. We'll start with the Detroit pizza secret, then master the dough, dive into a genius cake pan hack, craft the perfect sauce, and finish up with the assembly and the perfect bake. Let's jump right in. All right, step 1, the Detroit pizza secret. Okay, so to get that true, authentic Detroit-style pizza, you absolutely need Wisconsin brick cheese. Why? Well, it's all about that incredibly high-fat content. As the pizza bakes, that fat renders out and literally fries the dough right there in the pan, creating those iconic, deeply browned and super crispy edges. Plus, it gives you this rich, buttery flavor that standard pizza cheese just can't pull off on its own.
Now, obviously, you can order authentic Wisconsin brick cheese online. But if you can't get your hands on it today, don't sweat it. You can totally hack this at home. Just use a combination of Jack or young cheddar, pair it up with low-moisture mozzarella. Blending those together perfectly mimics that buttery, highly meltable profile we're looking for to get that amazing caramelization along the edge of the pan.
Moving right along to step 2, mastering the dough.
Please don't let yeast freak you out. This is actually a remarkably forgiving recipe. You just need a precise ratio of ingredients, specifically relying on 300 grams of bread flour for that essential structural chew and exactly 220 grams of water. But you know, the real secret for beginners isn't necessarily what goes into the bowl, it's exactly how you mix it.
This is where things get really interesting, because the contrast in time and effort here is wild depending on your kitchen tools. If you're doing this by hand, you whisk your dry ingredients, hydrate them, let it rest for 10 minutes, and then you've got to put in 10 solid minutes of physical kneading on your counter. But if you use a food processor, you cut your active kneading time down to just 60 seconds total. You just pulse the dry goods, add water, and process for a minute. It is an absolute game changer if you want a shortcut.
Regardless of which method you choose, hand, food processor, or even a stand mixer, you're looking for specific tactile cues. The ultimate goal is a smooth, silky ball of dough. Once you feel that texture, just form it into a tight ball, cover it tightly in plastic wrap, and let time do the heavy lifting. It needs to sit in a warm place until it roughly doubles in size, which usually takes about 2 hours. Okay, while that dough rests, let's look at step 3, the cake pan hack. Listen, you do not need to be gatekept by expensive professional equipment to make great pizza. Yes, the pros use a 10 by 14-inch anodized aluminum pan, but if you don't have one, just raid your baking cabinet. You can simply split your dough in half and use 2 everyday 8 by 8-inch square cake pans instead. It gives you the perfect shape and thickness, and it works wonderfully.
Once you've got your pans, these 4 steps are your absolute key to success. Heavily oil the bottom of the pans, drop your dough in, and gently press it toward the edges. But pay really close attention to step 3. That 30-minute resting period is totally mandatory. It relaxes the gluten in the dough, which allows you to come back later and easily stretch it up beyond the corners so it snaps perfectly into place.
I really want to emphasize this super reassuring quote straight from the recipe. You won't be able to get it all the way to the edges. This is okay. When you first press that dough out, the gluten is going to fight back. It's going to resist you. Don't force it, and definitely don't stretch it until it tears. Just cover it, let it rest, and try again in half an hour.
All right, on to step 4, crafting the perfect sauce.
A great Detroit-style sauce is robust and deeply savory. You'll start by heating some olive oil until it's shimmering. Then bloom 3 cloves of minced garlic, some oregano, and a dash of red pepper flakes for about 30 seconds until they're incredibly fragrant. Only then do you add 28 ounces of high-quality crushed tomatoes and balance that acidity with a precise blend of granulated garlic, onion powder, and a tablespoon of sugar.
Once those ingredients are combined, 30 is your magic number for time. You've got to bring this sauce up to a simmer and let it cook for exactly 30 minutes. This isn't one of those quick, raw Neapolitan sauces. It really needs time on the heat to develop those complex flavors.
And 3 is your magic number for volume. During those 30 minutes, you are actually reducing that simmering liquid down until you're left with a thick, heavily concentrated 3 cups of sauce. You want a really low moisture content here so it doesn't make your beautiful dough soggy during the bake.
Finally, step 5, assembly and the perfect bake. Let's bring this whole masterpiece together.
The most crucial point of assembling this is the order of operations, which is totally unique to this style. First, press out any large air bubbles.
Then, lay half the pepperoni directly on the dough, underneath the cheese. Next, spread your cheese, making sure it goes all the way out to touch the bare metal walls of the pan. Add the rest of your pepperoni on top, and finally, spoon your sauce in 3 distinct, thick rows right over the top of the cheese.
Now, let's talk about the bake. To get that legendary, thick, crispy fried crust, you have to blast the bottom of the pan with the most intense heat your home oven can generate. Put your rack on the absolute lowest setting and crank the dial to 550 degrees Fahrenheit, or literally whatever your oven's maximum limit is.
And here's an amazing hack for home chefs working with standard appliances. If your oven's heating element is weak, or that bottom rack just isn't getting hot enough to fry the dough, bypass the rack entirely. You can safely place the metal pizza pan directly onto the oven floor to maximize that direct heat transfer.
You want to keep a really close eye on it because it bakes fast at this temperature, usually just 12 to 15 minutes. But you are looking for a highly specific visual cue. Do not pull it out early. You want to wait until the exposed cheese on top is lightly browned and those edges where the cheese meets the pan are literally black and bubbling. I promise it isn't burnt. That is pure flavor.
When it finally comes out of the oven, safely transfer the hot pan to a towel or trivet. Grab a thin metal spatula and run it all the way around the inside walls of the pan. That's going to release those perfectly caramelized, crispy cheese walls you worked so hard for. Carefully lift the whole thing out, slide it onto a cutting board, slice it into squares, and serve it up immediately.
So now that you've mastered the foundational hacks of Detroit-style pizza, from the awesome cake pan trick to that high-heat bake, the only question left is how you're going to make this technique your very own. What crazy flavors are you going to experiment with next? Keep practicing, have an absolute blast in the kitchen, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.